Welcome to HOA Stories.
Please, someone help me! Is anyone there? The lights are flashing, I don't know what to do!
状況はない。
応答なしで。内部にいるはずだね。
It was the kind of morning that felt perfect for a slow drive through our neighborhood, sunlight bouncing off freshly mowed lawns, the smell of pine and barbecue lingering in the air. I just finished packing my camper for a weekend getaway with my daughter. Our little trailer wasn't much, but it was our escape, our tiny slice of freedom from HOA rules and the constant noise of suburban life. Enter Karen, every HOA horror story ever condensed into a single person. She was the neighbor who complained about the shape of my mailbox, the color of my shutters, and the audacity of me daring to park my camper in my own driveway. And this time, she took it a step further. While I was inside getting last-minute snacks, Karen waltzed into my driveway, took one look at the camper, and decided it was hers for the weekend. She had a smug smile, like a queen who'd just claimed someone else's crown. I ran out, but she was already driving off, waving at me like she'd done me a favor. Little did she know, that camper wasn't just a weekend getaway. My job with the DEA had granted me access to a specialized mobile lab used for covert operations. Every surface had hidden cameras, encrypted communication devices, and safety protocols that would make even the most tech-savvy criminal sweat. Normally, it was parked discreetly in a secured lot, but I had moved it home for maintenance. My blood boiled. Not just because Karen had taken something personal, it was the principle. But as I watched her disappear down the road, a plan began to form. I wasn't going to confront her violently, that wasn't my style. This was going to be smart. Slow. I'd let her arrogance do the work for me. The camera pans over the quiet neighborhood, the hum of traffic in the distance, and a final shot of Karen's license plate disappearing around the corner. The tension builds. What could possibly go wrong for someone who takes what isn't theirs? Karen hadn't always been this way. When I first moved in, she smiled politely, attended HOA meetings, and even baked cookies for the neighborhood kids. But over the years, her sense of entitlement had grown like ivy on the walls of her perfectly landscaped yard. Our HOA was strict, enforcing rules about lawn height, fence color, and even holiday decorations. I had clashed with them before, but nothing like this. I'd always been careful, obeyed the rules, and yet Karen treated me like a criminal for daring to park a legally owned camper in my own driveway. I had warned friends and family about her, half in jest, half seriously. She had the uncanny ability to turn neighbors against each other with a single rumor. The first hint of trouble came when my daughter mentioned that Karen had been peering through our windows with binoculars. Then came the anonymous letters slipped under our door, complaining about suspicious activity. I laughed it off, until she took the camper. The camper itself held memories, road trips with my daughter, quiet nights by the lake, and even impromptu stargazing sessions. Karen had no idea what she'd walked into. While she saw a trailer for convenience and leisure, I saw a tactical asset. A mobile lab capable of detecting illegal substances, tracking encrypted communications, and monitoring activity remotely. As the weekend unfolded, I set up surveillance. Every camera in the camper was now pointed toward her, logging her every move. The irony was delicious. She thought she was free, enjoying a weekend escape, while unknowingly stepping into a perfectly orchestrated trap. The neighborhood buzzed with its usual quiet tension, unaware that the stage for poetic justice had already been set. Saturday morning arrived. Karen drove the camper to a lakeside campground, broadcasting her entitlement like a banner. She bragged to neighbors, posted selfies online, and generally made the classic mistake of underestimating the intelligence of others. I stayed home, monitoring everything remotely. The camper's sensors picked up every action, her attempts to use my Wi-Fi, open compartments she shouldn't touch, and even mess with the lab equipment out of curiosity. Every mistake she made fed into the plan. Meanwhile, I contacted the local authorities, discreetly, as part of an ongoing DEA operation. Karen had unknowingly triggered alarms that could have flagged illegal activities anywhere else. Her meddling made her the star of a live investigation, not a criminal herself, but a catalyst for exposing illicit activity from other unsuspecting sources. Tension escalated when she tried to borrow items from the lab setup, triggering automated lockdown procedures. The camper locked her out of key compartments, alarms went off, and her phone received automated warnings she couldn't understand. Panic set in. She posted online, frustrated, claiming the trailer was haunted or sabotaged. I watched quietly, sipping coffee, knowing she couldn't touch the camper without consequences she didn't understand. The HOA drama faded in comparison to the real suspense. Every entitled move she made was now feeding into her ultimate comeuppance. By Sunday evening, Karen was desperate. She had called friends for help, tried to force her way into compartments, and even threatened to report me for harassment. Each attempt activated the camper's security measures. Finally, I made my move. I called her directly, speaking calmly and authoritatively, as if nothing unusual had happened. "Karen, I hope you're enjoying my camper," I said. "It seems you've triggered some unexpected protocols. The authorities have been notified to ensure your safety." Her face went pale as I explained that the camper was a DEA mobile lab, and she had just spent the weekend violating federal property regulations. She begged, pleaded, and threatened, but there was no escape. Within hours, law enforcement arrived, not to arrest her, but to contain the camper safely. She had unknowingly become a viral sensation online, the entitled HOA neighbor trapped in a high-security DEA vehicle. The neighborhood buzzed with rumors, and videos of her panicked selfies in the camper went viral. I stayed back, calm, watching the poetic justice unfold. Karen's arrogance had led her to the perfect trap, all without me lifting a hand. By Monday, life returned to its quiet rhythm. The camper was back in my driveway, intact, and functioning perfectly. Karen, humiliated and cautious, had retreated into her own world of entitlement. She no longer peered through windows or meddled with other people's property. For me, the victory wasn't just about the camper. It was about intelligence, patience, and letting justice unfold naturally. The HOA resumed its usual debates, the neighborhood returned to normal, and my daughter and I drove off for a quiet weekend getaway, this time without interference. The lesson was simple: entitlement and arrogance often blind people to the consequences of their actions. Justice doesn't always need force, sometimes, it just needs planning, wit, and a little poetic irony. As I closed the camper door and drove away, I smiled at the thought that some lessons are best learned the hard way, and some come with a touch of humor. Karen would remember this weekend forever. And so would the internet.